What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Your Story. This is the last end of our trip in Texas. Brings us to Cypress, Texas, over to IX Exotics. So to my left, some of their rights, we have a couple guys, one that you know, and the other two that are owner and operationals guys at IX Exotics. So we have Michael Abens, obviously the man behind Urable. Right to his left is Neil, the owner of IX Exotics, and head of operations, Aaron, his right-hand man. So today, thank you guys for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I gotta let you know, it's a windy day in Texas. It's raining, it's storming. So there will be some background noises from all the events that are going on in the shop. We apologize for that. But let's get started, guys. So why don't you give us a little background on yourself and how basically this place became what it is today?
Sure, yeah. So my main business is a technology company. I got into exotic cars around 2014 and started to enjoy those cars and get, ceramic services on those cars, and I was realizing that I wasn't getting the level of service that I wanted. So I decided to set up my own business to try and provide an end-to-end service for the consumer around car care.
Wow, that seems pretty close to basically how Urable got started.
It is eerily similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a car enthusiast too. I've got the R8 now. I have a TTRS that I raced for a lot of years. So I've been in ceramic coatings for probably 20 years. And the service I got was always spectacular, but the experience wrapped around it was just incongruent. And I always felt like, once I retired and the kids came up with the idea to start a custom niche-oriented software business, I said, let's look at detailing, because I think we could really, kind of marry up a professional level experience for the consumer with the professional services that were being provided.
Yeah.
And that is honestly how Urable got started.
Wow.
That's simple.
And the coolest thing about you guys is you were enthusiasts before, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you needed to go and start another company. Nope. It just came out of a need that you saw in the industry.
It started out as a passion project, but I'm very driven, and it's become like more of a goal-driven thing now. So even the services that you get, like you get ceramic coat, paint protection, they all seem to be provided by different people depending on their capabilities. Finding the skills is very hard, training the skills is hard, so you see these people bouncing around shops just to feed themselves. And so our goal is really to bring everything in-house, provide an end-to-end consumer experience for the customers that care about their cars. And then, there's one place to go and there's one place to blame if there's an issue with the work. So
Wow.
It's all about accountability at that point.
100%. So. And speaking of that too, is Aaron, that's kind of how you got to know Neil, right? Being a salesman over at Lamborghini and selling this man a couple cars.
Absolutely. Neil
and giving me good service, I will say.
Giving you good service. That's key.
That's the one, absolutely. But yeah, Neil and I actually met. I was, like you said, mentioned I was in sales at a Lamborghini dealership, and posted a car online that was available for sale, one of the first ones in the country at the time. And Neil got tagged and in the post, and next thing I know, he was driving his same car but a coupe up to the dealership, and wanted the convertible that was identical to the car he had. So it was top-down weather, and so that's where our journey as friends and colleagues kind of started, and was professional for a number of years and developed a great relationship and great rapport. Just became friends beyond just the professional experience pretty quickly, and just started doing rallies together and local trips and trips across the country, things like that. And we just kind of, after a number of years, the dealership I was at kind of got bought out and started going a little more corporate. And at the same time, I've been an entrepreneur prior to my sales career there, and was already kind of starting to get that itch to get out and do something on my own again. And it's kind of the right time and right place. And a lot of the things that I wanted to do from a service provider perspective in the industry, I didn't have the ability to do in a corporate environment. And a lot of things that Neil saw from a consumer's perspective in the industry, he wanted to kind of fill a lot of those gaps. And so it was kind of a really good merger to kind of come together and with his vision and my vision to, like you said, kind of create something that's end to end, that's high quality, that is a true concierge style service for consumers at all levels, but specifically the high end level. So that's kind of how we started.
Yeah, and there's sometimes when you meet people in life, you realize they've got skills that can complement your own as well. And one of the things I liked about Aaron was very patient in the process of dealing with me as a customer. So I knew that was going to be a benefit to this business. You're dealing with high-end services that's sometimes not difficult to do, and he's very patient with our customers. So I knew that that was going to be of value to us. And like you said, we share a similar vision, but we also share a value around execution.
Yeah.
And so our whole model is, whilst there's a bigger picture and there's a bigger vision about what we want to become, and there's a brand behind it, it really is about executing on that. And that's where I see a lot of companies falling down, not just in this industry, but in general. They have the great ideas, but the execution doesn't follow through.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I've seen that over 30 years in business. A lot of people have good visions, but they don't know how to execute. And really, that's the whole thing that led us into Urable too, is just listen, strategize, and execute. So
Yeah.
I mean, the whole pro group is basically driving the evolution of the app at this point.
Exactly.
We just execute what everyone is looking for right now.
And the big thing with what you guys do is trust, right? You build this trust with the client, because it's one thing going and buying a $250,000, $500,000, $1 million car. It's another thing trusting somebody to put their hands on
Yeah,
it.
and there's two things I say to Aaron: first touch and last touch, right? So he has first touch on the customer and last touch on the customer. So even though there's other people in the loop on the processes of what we're trying to do, he has to get the first touch in to make sure that the customer's comfortable with the services we're going to provide, and then he has to do the last touch, and it's a constant follow-up to make sure that they're happy with what we're doing. So because the feedback, to your point on Urable, the feedback is important to make us better, right? And we do make mistakes, and we're okay with making mistakes. And that's the other thing we were talking about earlier, is a lot of guys that are installers and stuff, they'll get fired from shops for making a mistake. I mean, how do you grow someone that way, right? So
Yeah.
You can't do it. So how do you build the trust with these guys when they're giving you a call, or even you're approaching them at a show or whatever it might be?
Yeah. So I think a big part of it is just being able to quickly build that rapport. The credibility that our portfolio of work provides for us pretty instantaneously is a big benefit as well. A lot of the network, especially in the local community, are people that do know me from my dealership days, so they're instantly comfortable with me as far as knowing the vehicles, not being being knowledgeable about them. I've got numerous customers that they may not live here in Cypress, they may be downtown, and they're just like, yeah, just come pick up my car, and it's could be a Huracan, could be Urus, could be any number of different cars, and they fully trust to just hand me the keys and let me drive it halfway across town, because they're familiar with me and everything that I've done professionally and my comfort level and professionalism that we instill with everything we do. And I just kind of don't betray that trust and make sure that it stays and is shown in all the different work that we do.
Yeah. And that brings up another great point too. It seems like it's a theme of Texas since we've been here, but the customer experience and providing this experience that they're not going to get anywhere else. Or if there is an opportunity, you got to obviously build that trust with them to make sure that they are handing the keys over to you.
And the world's been changing, right? For the last at least 10 years, the consumer is demanding more out of what they're spending.
Oh yeah.
So there are so many options out there for them, and they get, certainly in this industry, they get very confused about what's out there and what's available to them. So one of the things that Aaron spoke about earlier that we're doing is we're recording every part of the process, and we'll provide that as a video to the customer so they know what we're doing and they get educated in the process. So.
And you have a full-time guy for this.
Yeah.
To handle this all.
Yeah, actually our first full-time hire was actually a photo media guy. So
it wasn't a detailer.
For a detailing for a detailing business, our first full-time hire being a content creator essentially. I think that really kind of speaks to the volume of commitment that we have to that experience. And when I was talking with Neil early on and just kind of how are we going to strategize this, I said, we can, if we do this, this is how I would like to do it so that we can create this different experience. It's one of those things that it's traditionally probably not the first step, by any means, but like you mentioned, the world's changing. The people are experiencing different things, and in order to differentiate yourself and your services, you've got to be willing to take that investment and take those risks. And we have from day one. And that's what we're, big thing about what we're about is being innovative, being trying to stay ahead, at the same time maintaining what you're doing, providing more and more value in just any number of different ways. Anything from as small as picking the customer's car up to making sure they don't pick it up on empty, to I mean, any number of different things. People always ask me all the time. They'll come for window tint or whatever it may be, and they're like, "Oh, can you guys wash it too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're IX. Like, no car leaves here dirty. It doesn't matter if you're here for window tint or PPF. Like, it's part of that experience. Like, you shouldn't go to a shop and leave with a dirty car. It doesn't matter what, if they're an automotive service provider. Like, in my mind, it should always leave clean."
I'm going to tell this story. We had a customer last week who came, who'd been around a bunch of shops in Houston and came here and saw the cleanliness, of the showroom and the facility, but saw the cleanliness of the cars we were working on. He goes, "Your cars are clean that you're working on." We're like, "Well, how do you apply film and ceramic and things like that if the car's dirty?" And he said, "Well, I've just been to a number of shops and even the showroom was dirty." So again, we're trying to provide a level of education to the customer here about what has to happen in order for his car to go away and be perfect and to be maintained for a period of time. Now, would we like to see it back in a month's time? Yeah, but not because of bad work.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you guys are building relationships, right?
Yes.
You're a relationship
Yeah.
business, not transactional.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right,
Yes.
and I think that speaks volumes to you guys. Like the one thing I noticed, you guys give prints to some of your customers. Like you take advantage of your internal expertise that you guys hired early on, right? Your graphics guy and media guy, and you give that to just put the experience over the top for some of your customers.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just awesome.
what do we have to do? We order some canvas and we just have to, design
I know,
it and
but
print
most
it off.
places
and
don't
whatever.
even
So,
consider it. They don't even think about that.
Yeah,
That's what sets you
that's-
guys apart.
That's always been something for me, especially being a new business. And I mean, in these times, especially even more, it's hard enough in a regular business climate, but over the last, year and a half or so, it's been even more difficult for a lot of businesses. So my big focus was always, how can I do more with the few resources that we have? It's easy for a big company to just go and just try to spin their way out of it, but that rarely works, And so for us, it was about what small things, like you said, can we do with what we have to just take things to that next level and to separate ourselves and to be a little different. And that's, having a full-time creative on staff just
Huge.
it makes those the your own imagination is the limit as far as what you can
and there's
do. So.
there's phases to this. There's phases to where we want to go, and some of them I don't even know yet. But we won't go to the next phase until the phase we're in is successful and working, and we'll know when it's time to move on.
Yeah.
So.
I got to say one of the, we got to put big emphasis on this, on having a full-time media guy. I remember when we brought ours, and which thankfully is my brother, but so it's cool working side by side with my little bro.
That's cool.
But the level of just client excitement, knowing that their car might be posted or that you're getting photos of it that they're not expecting under any means, right? Or sending them a little gift like that where you get them a print is so key to what we do. When a guy's walking in and spending a couple grand with you to apply coating or apply film to their car, you can spend $50 on getting them a print, right?
It also makes you think, right? So if we've got a guy, we've got a detailer here, Cody, who's really good at, the inspections that we're doing.
Yeah.
And if it's being filmed, you're stopping and asking questions. What are you doing? And you actually catch stuff because you're thinking about what you're doing rather than it just becoming a routine part of your job.
It's huge.
So.
Yeah. I always put it back to like the real estate, a realtor, that every time you buy a house, they'll give you like a bottle of champagne.
Yeah.
Right. It's be the same thing with what we do here.
Yeah.
Every time somebody buys a car, you just give them a bottle of champagne before they even say yes to your service. Right. But you just don't see it. Maybe when you were at Lamborghini, maybe that's how you got this guy on your good side.
Even here and there, but yeah, I mean, and like you said, especially with some of these services, our job is to protect and enhance and make their cars better. But for all intents and purposes, a lot of things aren't visually that different. Yes, we as detailers and people in the industry understand, there is that initial wow factor. You're going to remove swirls, you're going to remove all that, but it's not like you're changing it from black to red, So like you mentioned, it doesn't have to, for a lot of places, even when I was at the dealership, if they got it, it was just transactional. It was, okay, I'll add it, and then I'll just wait 3 extra days to get my car. And that was it. There was no, I kind of go over it when that was it. And so for us, I wanted them, I'm like, no, I want to, that's an experience. That's part of buying a new car, is protecting it. And so we wanted to be able to showcase that and make them part of that experience.
Yeah.
So
It's like you and I were talking about, like, part of getting the fun of getting cars like this is the ordering process itself, man.
Yeah.
That's like part of the experience, right? That's part of the magic. I don't want to just pick it out from Carvana.
Yeah.
And there's a patience required, right? Because as you order the car and you build your spec, and then you have to wait for delivery. You know, we're humans, right? We want instant gratification. So you go sign finance paperwork or whatever for your car, and you want to go drive it. Now I have to wait a little bit longer because I want it to be protected, right? And at the dealership, like I said, even within the dealership, there's other people touching the car. Now I'm dealing with finance, then I'm dealing with service.
Yeah.
And who's accountable? You know, it isn't the GM. The GM's normally focused on sales. So, you know, here we're trying to make sure that there's one place that you can go and someone's accountable. And Aaron is that person who's accountable for the customer for everything that we do.
Yeah.
You know?
When you say, you know, you're becoming a one-stop shop for all things customization, trust levels there too. Like,
Absolutely.
when I walked over there and saw the level that you guys tore apart that G-Wagon, right? That's getting wrapped for a girl that's going to college, right? I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And even your blackouts, like seeing the blackout on the Escalade that's over there, to the level that you decided to tear that car apart. When I say tear it apart, you do it with precision too.
Yeah.
It's not like you're breaking things and having to reorder stuff. This is all precision.
And it's personal, so I don't call it customization anymore. I call it personalization. It's automotive personalization is what we're doing essentially.
So you started, so the idea started with the need that you saw, right, of leveling up and providing a one-stop shop. So can you give us kind of the timeline of when that idea came, you know, to your head to when you called Aaron and then?
Yeah, so the idea came as probably around 3.5, 4 years ago. 3 years ago, I set up the company as a name. Started looking into actually running a partnership with a guy that was local, leased these facilities, did the floor, spent money on things we didn't need to do, quite frankly, to you know, because you're learning as you're going along. And it was only really 2 years. I had a year where I was trying to think about how to launch it, and I knew I needed someone like Aaron. Aaron wasn't ready to leave what he was doing, and I was also looking initially at getting a really experienced detailer in. So it was 2 years ago that Aaron came in, stepped in, and it took a year to get to us understanding what we wanted to build. And for the last year, it's just rapidly grown. It's actually, I think the first year we're about $100,000 business. We'll be $1 million business in 2 years. So
it's incredible.
So,
yeah. And what do you think? What would you say like success is behind? And this is to a lot of detailers out there that want to reach that level of success, want to reach that 7-figure business.
Yeah. Some
detailers want to reach a 6-figure business. So what are some key points that you could say, hey, here's some things that I would recommend you do from the start, so hopefully be able to reach that level of success?
I mean, hard work goes without saying, right? So there are a lot of people in there that put 12 hours in and stuff like that, but working smart, not just hard. You know, we're fortunate, like I said, I've got a few different people that are providing different areas, but we're also investing in training all the time, right? And so I said, we're not going to fire someone for making a mistake. We're going to go look at why they made a mistake. We're going to go educate them out of that mistake. And then, you know, Aaron calls it the IX way. We're learning the processes of all of the areas of detailing. And then we're looking at the industry processes, and we want to make them better. As you know, the products are getting better and things like that, and that means the process is going to change as well. So we're always trying to innovate and stay ahead. But I think it's just working smart and also taking care of what the customer wants and listening. So, yeah.
I agree with that. I think a big part too that I always try to really communicate with the guys on the team is, there's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts when it comes to even things as small as just the basic washes. There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts when you're going through and, like you said, tearing apart a full G-Wagon or an Escalade or anything like that. And I always tell these guys we all have our specific roles, and that's the reason that they're here, is because we believe they're either they're either currently an expert in that field or they can be, and just that open line of communication that if an issue arises, tell me about it. Don't think about the customer. Just tell me about it. I'll handle the customer, because that's my job and that's my role here. And I'll communicate in a way with the customer that they understand, and we're all on the same page as far as what we need to do, so that, and like I said, 99 times out of 100, the customer understands. They just want to be involved. They just want to be communicated with. They don't want to be left in the dark. And like I said, most of the time, if there's an issue, as long as you're up front with the customer and say, hey, Mr. Customer, this happened, this is what we're doing, this is what caused it, this is how we're rectifying the situation. I just wanted to make you aware. No matter how big or small, they're usually very receptive to that, and in fact, it builds more trust because you didn't hide it. Most people, they understand.
Transparency.
So
Yeah. All of our,
it's huge.
I mean, all the people we've hired make mistakes, right? And so we ask them to be accountable to those mistakes and tell us what went wrong. We even ask them to be accountable to each other. So like Aaron said, we may have a guy that, is the best rap guy in Houston that we've hired, and he's known for that, but it doesn't mean someone else can't go criticize or critique his work.
100%.
So we've got a constant QA process going on between the team, that they're allowed to QA each other's work at any stage of the process. So we're just catching things before they
That's
slip.
just good leadership right there, honestly.
It's tough.
Leadership.
Because you've created a safe environment for that. Like people don't need,
That's
don't need
the
to be
safe
worried.
environment,
Like
yes.
the guy, they made a mistake
not gonna
and
get
they get
fired
fired,
from
right?
it.
That's just good leadership.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Well, we got to talk about why we're all here too, and it's not just this guy in the R8 that's behind us, but Urable, because I know there was a need that you saw in your business too, even to the point where you, with your tech background, were going to build a software yourself until you're able.
yeah, so I'm a technology guy, and I run with technology, and it's more in the my technology company's in the B2B, not the B2C, so it's kind of new to me. And I remember I was going to set up this business, and I was going around a couple of other shops, and one I mentioned I was going to partner with, and there was no schedule. There's no schedule for the customers, for the work that they were doing. So I knew that even when I took my cars there, they were going to be late. And I'm taking days off to go pick up a car. And then I'm being told I've got to wait another day, and I've taken time off work. So it's impacting my lifestyle, both on business and professional. And so I realized something needs to be done about that. And everyone I spoke to about, we're gonna build a scheduling system for the work we do. Absolutely not, you can't schedule me. So he gave us a challenge. Aaron and I spoke about it. He went and researched. He found Urable, and he tried it out behind my back. He told me, and it kind of worked. And said, "Hey, I've got," because Aaron will do a lot of looking at things he wants to do that he might even be passionate about, but won't ask me my opinion until he's gone and researched and explored it and said, "Yeah, it fits with not only what I want to do, it fits with what I want to explain to Neil about how it's going to be beneficial to us and things like that." So I think that's what he did with Urable. Brought it to me. I was all in. Let's go, and I'm going to give you a long piece of rope to see if you can make this place better. So, and that's what we did.
It probably saved you a lot of money on development.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I could have developed it myself, but if there's something out there, why not use it? And if it works and it's effective, and you guys are constantly improving the platform, why do I want to spend that money when someone else can do it and they're doing a good job? Like, there's so many uses we can make of it. I think we're just touching the surface.
And it'll keep getting better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all for $100 a month. Or $1,000 a year. It's funny. At dinner, last night or 2 nights ago, I looked at Michael and Chris, and I go, what's crazy? I go, I can use this for 30 years. It's going to be a generational software that I'm going to pass down with the business forever. But if I use it for 30 years, all it costs me is 30 grand. That's it. To run my whole business for the next 30 years, it's going to cost me $30,000. I go, I can't even hire somebody for that for a whole year.
Right.
It's gonna, it's going to be $1 million if I was to hire somebody by the time that comes around. It's going to cost me 30 grand for 30 years.
But that's been a hard thing in this industry because nobody, has really systematized their business. I mean, you do it as a living. I was designing systems to solve business challenges that I had throughout my career. It was a really new concept coming into the detailing environment. So it was a tough sell, I think, at first. People couldn't wrap their head around, oh my God, $100 a month. Like, it's like $3 a day.
I can't, I'm like,
think about that.
Yeah.
Just
it's a no-brainer.
The value that you get from that, just with the follow-up stuff or just automating that little bit, it saves so much time. So I don't think detailers necessarily had an appreciation for the value of their time.
Absolutely.
So I hope we're helping with that through this whole process, honestly.
And that was one of the things that I found really, really beneficial about it when I got on, was because, our business structure, I guess, is a little different, whereas I'm the operator, but I'm not necessarily the one doing, the washing of the cars, the paint corrections. We have a team behind that. And so for me, there's so much flow of communication and flow of information going on between, the quotes, the clients, myself, my detailers, my shop foreman, my guys laying vinyl wrap. There's so much information that's just out there, and to have an app like Urable to be able to just have all that in one place and have it be in a organized, accessible manner that's just instantaneous. I mean, in between scenes, I just sent a customer, a quote with, all the inspection photos of everything, and it was 3 clicks, and I sent him an approval. And it's just, I can do that in a matter of 2 minutes. And all the information's there, everything about all of our services. There's no, and I can do it from my phone. It doesn't have to be, okay, I got a Monday from 9 to 12, I have to go and do my office work. It's seamless. It's no matter where you're at. And there's so much information out there that I feel, and I've seen this even before we use the app, that there's so much opportunity that slips through the cracks because people aren't organized and they don't have control of their information and their data.
People are not used to going to get information for themselves, right? So if you think about, what Google's allowed, what YouTube's allowed, what Instagram's allowing now, people can feed themselves. They can feed themselves knowledge. And so, the generation is changing now where it has to be instant. And so a subscription-based app has to be available to you at all times. Right? I don't have to call Aaron now unless I've got a question about what I'm seeing, rather than saying I've got a question about what work's going on. Yeah. Right? So I can put it up and see what's going on and get my perspective, and I can share it with him because he doesn't always he's looking at the same view of the business as I am. Yeah. Right? And we can communicate based on information being presented to us in the same user interface, essentially.
And I mean, that in itself saves us hours in a week of not having to sit down and go over, okay, here's the 500-foot view and the mile-high view of the business and then what's currently on deck. He can look at it in the background without ever asking me a question and see a 95% clear picture of what's happening. Yeah. And so it takes that 2 to 3 hour meeting down to a 10-minute conversation, about the missing links or things I maybe haven't put in yet or need to adjust. But yeah, it's just that collection, storage, and accessibility of information. Like I said, now as soon as I talk to somebody, no matter if it's a quick phone call, a text, a referral through social media, it all goes straight in there, and the quotes are always there. I can go back and who did I talk to 3 months ago, and go, and I'll hit them back if they were just cold at the time. And I mean, you'd be amazed at people that I haven't talked to in 3 months that, oh, hey, did so-and-so's car ever come in? Did you ever get a particular, oh, no, I've been thinking about it. And actually, now's a good time. I'm always scheduled. And it's just that follow-up. And it just enables you to effortlessly have that information and be able to do so without having to just recreate something, recreating the wheel. It's always there. As long as you put it in there, it's always there. So it's very, very, very beneficial to our business.
And you brought up a super strong point, saying that you're going to be a 6-figure business this year. In 2 years, you're going to be a 7-figure business. And the coolest thing about Urable is it grows with you.
Absolutely.
So as Urable grows and as you guys grow, what's next for your business?
A few things down the road. We've got a launch next week of a concept called IX Garage, where we're launching e-commerce retail store in the facility where the products that we use on the cars we now will sell to the consumer, so that when they come and see what we've done to the cars and they ask, what did you use, we can provide that to them so they can clean the cars themselves. We have just put a paint booth in. We're doing a lot of outsourcing the blackout work and things like that, so we decided that we're going to invest there. We're starting to get into fleet work, so we're in an industrial area here. There's a lot of trucking companies that want fleet wraps done and things like that. And then we've got a few other things down the road, which I won't talk about right now, just bigger picture. And so, the way to think about it is not, I mentioned automotive personalization. It will remain in the automotive stuff, but it really isn't about detailing or any one aspect. It's whatever the consumer wants, right? So I see us as a brand. I see us growing as a brand and becoming a named brand. We don't know if we're going to open multiple locations yet in different cities. We don't know if we're going to franchise it. It's opened up lots of doors and lots of thinking for us. So
it's huge.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for having us here.
Absolutely. No, thanks for coming
especially
down.
on the windy day. We love this.
And I think he hung himself back there.
I got to ask you one more question. Your love for Ferraris, where did that come from?
I guess, so I started out as a Porsche guy, actually. My first sports car here in the US was a 911 Carrera 4S, and I loved that car. And I think I went to the dealership, saw a better car, traded it up, and kind of went from there. And I remember I had a contract in 2014 where the company earned a lot of money from that contract, and decided to go out and treat myself. And didn't know, obviously knew Ferrari because I'm a big Formula One fan, and I've followed Ferrari, since the 70s. And so always thought it was out of reach for me. So went into a local, showroom, saw the quality of the cars on display and what was there, and bought one, and just really got sucked into the brand. And since then, through a couple of different relationships with different dealerships, I've just kind of first of all got known in the industry around the cars that I do and the passion I have, and also got to know a lot of people in Ferrari. So I get well taken care of. The cars are fantastic. The process of building and being patient and waiting for a car is actually, is really exciting. It's on a different level. So that's where it comes from, and that's where it'll stay.
Well, thank you for sharing your passion with us. Yeah, thank you for opening this place. It's one of the, I'd say, the coolest ways to end our Texas trip, right?
No doubt. That's why we picked you guys to end it with.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming, and we really appreciate the time you're putting into this and all the support you're giving us.
Absolutely. Neil, Aaron, been a pleasure.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Absolutely. So that wraps up the Texas trip for us. Really appreciate you guys. As always, thank you to Michael, Chris, Kyle, everybody at Urable. Thank you to Cinescope. Make sure you go online, sign up for the free 30-day trial. And as always, keep shining. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.